aka Megabits. In today's video, I'm going to be picking up and playing a deck that can take 6 prizes in one single turn. This deck's absolutely insane. I've been requested to do this deck for multiple weeks now, and I was like, I gotta give the people what they want. I gotta deliver. So here we are with that 6 prize Wombo combo deck. So let's jump in to that deck list. Alrighty guys, and here we are with that deck list that can take 6 prizes in one single turn. Now, the way this deck works is very interesting. So we are trying to attack with and have just the ability trigger off our Mismagius as often as possible in the early game. With its ability Spiteful Magic, if his Pokemon has full HP and is knocked out by damage from an attack of our opponent's Pokemon, we put 8 damage counters on that attacking Pokemon. With this attack, Eerie Voice, for 1 psychic energy, you put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So you're really spreading out those damage counters, and then they're taking the KOs on the Mismagius, so it's taking 8 more on top of that, which is pretty good. And then we're trying to finish up that game with Lunala, with his attack Lunar Pain for double colorless energy. You double the number of damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So throughout the game, they're KOing your Mismagius, you're using Eerie Voice, and with our Old Cemetery, which is whenever any player attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their non-psychic Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So the damage counters slowly add up over the course of the game, and then we're trying to just take 6 prizes, or as many prizes as you possibly can, with Lunala. Now, for the rest of the list here, we are playing 4 Misdreavus, 4 Mismagius, 3 Cosmog, 1 Cosmoem, 3 Lunala, 2 Bidoof, 2 Bibarel, a bit of our draw engine, 1 Manaphy, 3 Professor's Research, 2 Judge, 1 Raihan, 1 Arezu, 1 Miriam, 1 Klara, 4 Level Ball, 3 Ultra Ball, 3 Nest Ball, 3 Fog Crystal, 3 Rare Candy, 1 Counter Catcher, 1 Switch, 1 Escape Rope, 3 Old Cemetery, 5 Psychic Energy, and 4 Double Turbo Energies. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. Lloyd, there's no Jirachi in this list. So, in a lot of the testing and the times I did play this deck, I felt like we could outrace and outspeed Gardevoir and Lost Box a lot of the times. So I felt like having Jirachi in here wasn't necessarily a bad choice. I just kind of opted to have an additional Professor's Research instead. The list I was playing before had 2 Professor's Research and people were playing Jirachi, and I was like, I don't really care for Jirachi. I feel like I can outrace Lost Box and Gardevoir because you can just Eerie Voice a couple times and then attack with Lunala relatively early and take a bunch of KOs that way. So it was kind of one of those things where you can play Jirachi if you're worried about Lost Box and Gardevoir and things of that nature, but you also don't have to if you don't want to. I just decided not to, but this is the list I've played with. This is the list that's going to be in the gameplay video. And speaking of that gameplay video, let's jump in to the gameplay. Alrighty guys, and here we are with that gameplay with our Lunala Mismagius deck. I don't really have a name for the deck, so we're just going to call this the 6 prize Wombo combo. That'll be the name of the deck. With our coin flip here, they do end up getting heads. I actually don't quite know if you care to go first or second. I feel like first is kind of the way you want to go because you want to be able to evolve your Misdreavus into Mismagius and your Cosmog into Cosmoem or Lunala as fast as you possibly can, Bidoof into Bibarel, because the deck is very setup focused and you really need to start kind of getting things rolling very early on. Both me and my opponent do end up having to mulligan, sadly, and we realize that we're playing against a Meowscarada deck. Now, this deck is kind of interesting to play against. I've played a couple Meowscarada lists before, and I've played against it a couple times. It just feels like a less good Rapid Box or Lost Box kind of deck, but Meowscarada is still very scary because they're able to spread those damage counters relatively quickly with Meowscarada. So we do finally get a playable hand here with our Cosmog and Misdreavus in our opening hand. We have Level Ball, Nest Ball, and Fog Crystal. So we're able to grab energy, we're able to grab a Pokemon, we're able to grab a basic, probably end up like Bidoof or Manaphy or anything of that nature. So this hand is not bad at all. We have the Mismagius, so we can evolve our Misdreavus relatively quickly. Now, our opponent gets to be able to take a couple cards because we did have to mulligan a handful of times. So they get to take 3 additional cards because we did mulligan a bunch to finally get a good hand. And our opponent starts with Cherubi, which they use it to evolve into the Charum for its ability. Now, the interesting part is this deck is very all eggs one basket. We're trying to get all these damage counters spread as fast as we possibly can, and we're trying to just take as many prizes or all of them in one turn. And it's a lot to do because you really need to be able to make sure you're managing your resources properly and making sure that you're putting the damage counters in a specific way, because if they take KOs on your Mismagius and then you're KOing their active, they get like a free pivot option, and then you don't get to do the 6 prize wombo combo, and that's not as fun. So we do end up Nest Ball and grab that Bidoof. We Fog Crystal, grab an energy here, and then I'm Level Ball, and I'm like, I don't really know too much what to grab, so I end up grabbing the Cosmog, and the Cosmog I feel like is a safe choice because if they KO my active Cosmog, then I have a backup one. So grab a Misdreavus, bench that, and we're set up in a really good position. And I'm like, you know what? We're doing okay. Attach the energy. I'm going to Star Protection just because. We Tails, we miss it. Now, Star Protection is you flip a coin if heads. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks. And my thought process is, I have this Raihan in my hand. So if they KO my Cosmog, I can Raihan the energy onto the Misdreavus, evolve that Misdreavus into Mismagius, and I'll be able to search whatever card I want off the Raihan, grab a Bibarel, fill my hand with a bunch of cards, is the thought process going through my head at this moment. So we're kind of bluffing and baiting our opponent into being like, hey, you should KO this Cosmog. So hopefully that ended up working out for us. We'll have to see what happens here. So I am going to evolve the Misdreavus into Mismagius, and then I do end up ripping this Judge and throw away the Raihan, but it kind of would have worked out had I just waited for them to KO it, essentially. So I'm going to rare candy this Cosmog into a Lunala, Level Ball, and we're going to grab a Cosmoem. Now, I grabbed Cosmoem, and I'm going to evolve it, and I realize that it probably isn't the best thing to do, because had I evolved first and then try to retreat, this would have not worked at all, because Cosmog has a 1 retreat cost. Cosmoem has a 3 retreat cost. Lunala has a 2 retreat cost. Why it goes from 1 to 3 to 2, beyond me, no idea. But if I try to evolve and then retreat, I'm not going to be able to. So I had to attach, then retreat, then evolve, put up the Mismagius, and now we're set up in a position where we can start attacking with Mismagius if we get a decent top deck. And that's kind of one of the downsides of this deck, is it's very setup focused, and you really need to make sure that you got your draw engine rolling, you got Mismagius is evolved and ready to go, you got Lunala's ready to go, and you just got to kind of hope a little bit. So our opponent plays Parasol Lady here, just getting a couple cards, get a new fresh 4, and they're going to attach an energy to this Florgato, and they're just going to pass. They got a good amount of stuff set up. They got that Cherrim set up. They got a Grotto set up. And I'm just like, well, I have nothing. I top deck Ultra Ball. So now the important thing to note, though, is the next card that I draw, I can Ultra Ball Miriam and whatever that second card is away to find a Bibarel to draw 5 cards. So that is an option. We also could just top deck the Bibarel. That would be awesome. We also could just draw an energy. We have a lot of cards in our deck right now in this position that are good draws. So we kind of just got to wait out and see what happens. We're hoping that they don't KO this Mismagius at this point, because I would at least want to attack with it once or twice, because I don't have another Mismagius ready to go. If I start Lunar Painting with Lunala too early, then I'm not really taking any KOs with anything, so it does feel a little awkward and a little bad. But they're set up ready to go. They got 2 Grottos going. They got a Cherrim going. They got another Sprigato on the bench. They got Manaphy EX ready to go. They find a Florgato, evolve that, and our opponent is cooking. They got everything ready to go. Scratching Nails for 100. And then Spiteful Magic will trigger. 8 damage counters on their active. So now that Manaphy EX has 80 damage counters. So now we're in an awkward position where I don't, depending on what I promote is very important. In my head, promoting the Misdreavus makes the most sense, because then if I can find into a Mismagius, we're set up pretty okay. So I do end up top decking a card, Ultra Balling that away, get the Bibarel, draw 5 cards, and I'm like, oh, that's not great. So attack, bench this, Nest Ball, and I'm like, okay, we're just gonna look and see. We got to check a couple things. I want to see how much damage that this Meowscarada can do, and I'm trying to figure out, I read the ability because I wanted to see if Manaphy would prevent it and Jirachi actually would be the play. But like I said, I'm not too worried about Jirachi. We're going to level ball. We're going to find that Mismagius. We're going to evolve. And now we have Old Cemetery set up, so if they're attacking grass energies, they're taking 2 more damage counters. So Eerie Voice, 20 damage counters on every single one of their Pokemon to our opponent. Now, the hard part about this is the Grottles have 100 HP. The Godsflower and the, Cherim and stuff have like 80, 60 respectively. So I have to try to time the Eerie Voices correctly if I want to try to take 6 prizes in one turn. Now, you can also just keep forcing Eerie Voice, take 2 prizes, and then you're at 4, and then you can just Lunar Pain later and take the last of it later on in the game. However, that's not fun. We want to take the 6 prize Wombo combo. That's what you want to be doing. So they're going to Cotton Lift here with their Eldegoss, Spring Bloom, put an energy on to that Florgato, trigger Old Cemetery, because it does trigger off a Spring Bloom, because it doesn't say when you play it from your hand, it just says attach from anywhere. So if they want to keep Spring Blooming, that's totally fine, because it will still keep triggering Old Cemetery. And it was incredible. It was great, and I was having so much fun. Like, when I saw that when I was playing, I was like, this is actually perfect. I was like, I love this. And shoutouts to the person that has been asking me to play this deck for quite some time. His name is Kyle. He comes to my local game store a lot, and he's been asking for me to play this deck for a while. So I was like, you know what? I'll give the people what they want. You gotta give the people what they want. And here it is. So shout out to him. This is the reason I made it. He's asked for multiple weeks, and I was like, I gotta deliver. So thank you for that. Shout out to Kyle. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. All right, so we're going to Eerie Voice here. Send 20 more damage counters everywhere. So we're set up still really nicely. Our opponent's only taken 2 prizes, and both of those knockouts have been on Misdreavus's. Mismagius. So we're doing okay. So now he's going to, Banquet Magic, put some damage counters on our bench Mismagius, Cotton Lift, get 2 energies, and then they can Spring Bloom them. But like I said, once again, if you Spring Bloom, it's still going to trigger that Old Cemetery, so they need to bump our Old Cemetery so they can stop putting damage counters on their own stuff, would be the hope. But they also have another Meowscarada, so they can Banquet Magic again, putting 30 damage counters on that Lunala. And they're going to Scratching Nails, KR Mismagius, and I'm like, perfect, you're going to take 8 more damage counters. There you go. And now, look at these numbers. So 280 to 310. They have 30 HP left. This Mismagius won't KO this Meowscarada. However, it puts me in a position where I can KO this Grottles, the Eldegoss, and the Cherim off the bench. So, I'm going to Arezu, grab the last Lunala, evolve into that other Lunala. So even if they KO the damaged Lunala, I have DTE in my hand already, so it doesn't matter. If they KO this Mismagius or they KO the Lunala, we're totally okay. Because I could just attach that DTE and it'll be good to go. So what they're going to do here, and now it's also important too, Spiteful Magic now won't trigger because Mismagius has to be at full HP. So when they go to KO this with Scratching Nails, I'm not going to get the 8 damage counters on the active Meowscarada because, like I said, it has to be full health. So we are able to pull off six prizes in one single turn with this absolutely crazy Mismagius Lunala deck. The 6 prize Wombo combo, Lunar Pain, double all your damage counters, KO 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 on that active Meowscarada EX. And I will say, this was an incredibly great feeling to watch all these just get KO'd at one time and then pick up all 6 of my prizes at once. I have never played a deck or played a game where you can do this, and this felt incredible. Just watching all of them flip over at one time, it was insane, and I had so much fun playing this deck. It was absolutely crazy, and I'm glad that it has been requested multiple times, because I don't know if I would have ever played it had that not happened. So look at that damage. 1,280 damage with the 6 prize Wombo combo. Alrighty, guys. Let's jump in to that outro. Alrighty, guys. That was absolutely insane. Playing our 6 prize Wombo combo deck, taking 6 prizes in one turn, KOing those, and seeing all those prizes just flip over. Oh, it feels so good, and I'm so happy. This deck was so much fun to play. I'll make sure to put the deck list description below as well, so if you guys want to try this deck out for yourself, you'll be able to. If you haven't yet, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, especially if you've been enjoying this kind of content, because I love providing this kind of content, and I really do appreciate every single one of your guys' support. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Peace!